let's hear from Clinton on the latest gimbals, what they are, what they do for videographers everywhere. G'day, Clinton. You've been a cinematographer. I mean, do gimbals, are they only for the professional market? At what level do gimbals come in at for some of the enthusiasts? And then maybe you can take us on a bit of a journey. So,
sure. We carry three main brands, Zhiyun, Goodson Motor, and obviously DJI. And the reason why we do that so that we can give people a variety of different gimbals. But to answer your question in regards to gimbal technology and why I think and how it's changed production and content creation is because it's amazing, you know, when you look at gimbal technology, where we were maybe about 10 years ago. And now, I mean, when you look at how it functions, it uses, you know, AI algorithms, you know, object tracking. You can sync your motion or the ability to be able to, let's say, take a smartphone and mimic motion or movement. Essentially what gimbals do is they change the way we move cameras, mimics very expensive equipment like jibs, sliders, steady cams. You're able to use gimbals for action sports, you know, all these very cinematic, quick motion things. And there's really no skill set required. So anyone can literally use technology, in this case, brushless gimbal technology, increase their production value and also take basically production and creativity pretty much up a notch. So that's why I think gimbal technology is basically exploded. I mean, you have things like wireless transmissions now as well in gimbals. You have smartphone controls. So, you know, possibilities are endless. When you think of it, how it's changed, you can do time lapses, you can do motion lapses. So in a sense, gimbals have taken the unattainable and made it very attainable.
Have you got one there you can show us? What does it look like? What is it?
Yeah, sure.
A gimbal, I've seen bird photographers use a gimbal as a type of tripod head, and you're talking about gimbals for videographers. So what is in the cinema world, what does a gimbal look like?
I'll switch cameras in a minute to the second camera that I have set up here, but I'm going to quickly give you an idea of where stabilization really comes from. So obviously Garrett Brown invented the Steadicam, in which he, you can see all the famous scene, you know, in Rocky, if you remember the film Rocky, and they went up the steps and he ran up the steps, and that was, you know, a Steadicam shot. So the level of stabilization on all, you know, whether it's horizontal or vertical axis, your X or Y or Z axis, everything was very smooth and it was very transitional. There was a fluid motion to it. So with Steadicam, it's all based on mechanical stabilization, which requires a skill set. But now with gimbal technology, it uses all these different motors where you balance literally a camera on top of it. And then you use these motors to basically stabilize the camera. And like I said, an X, a Y, and a Z axis. So I've got a gimbal here of Zhiyun Weebill Lab. And you can see the way it's mounted. So I've got the Sigma FP with a kit lens on here, the 45mm kit lens. When a gimbal's actually balanced properly, I'm going to move this anywhere I want, and it stays there. See? So basically,
that's the same idea as the gimbal that bird photographers use, the tripod head. It's counterbalance basically.
So most people, what people have to do is they have to make sure that they balance the camera before they turn on the gimbal. So what I'm going to do is now turn on the gimbal. And you'll see it will just balance itself and re-engage all the brushless motors. In a minute, there you go. And now it's stabilized. So the key to doing all this, obviously, is to balance your camera first and then turn on the motor itself. So all these little things here, like this section here, and the section in here are essentially brushless motors that basically control your X, Y, and Z axis. Like I said, different brands we have Zhiyun, which, you know, some of the more popular ones obviously are like the Weebill Lab, the Weebill S. Then we have Goodson Motor, you know, everything from the Air series all the way up to their cinematic line. Personally, I use the Air 2 for the Panasonic EVA 1. And then for DJI, we have everything from consumer stabilizers like the OSMO Pocket, which is the small, tiny little guy, all the way to prosumer and professional systems like the RONIN SC, all the way to the RONIN.
We do sell a lot of those.
Yeah.
We do sell a lot of those. You've actually taught me a lot there about the counterbalancing of a gimbal, which I've often heard about in the bird photography industry. Now it makes sense to me what a gimbal does in cinematography.
Yeah.
We're going to end off and say a huge thank you to Clinton from C.R.Kennedy. Thank you so much.